Best MC in town. Guys, very excited to be here today for the launch of the Hong Kong FinTech Week. As Andrew mentioned, my name is Henry Arslanian, and really my passion is the future of the financial services and legal industries. And I'm just very lucky I get paid from PwC for doing this. What I want to do over the next 5 minutes, because that's the time I have this morning, is really to share with you some of the latest best practices we are seeing in the ICO space. Really when it comes to token sales, and really my goal is to share with you some of this latest content that we are seeing, really with the goal to empower you, whether you're an entrepreneur looking at doing your own ICO, whether you're an investor looking at investing in the space, or whether you're just a stakeholder interested in the topic. Can I just have my slides on, please? So what I'll kick off is really, as you guys have been aware, one thing I'll just give you guys as a quickly, as an overview, the first thing that I tell every audience is that anybody tells you that they are a fintech expert, you have to run away. I can tell you honestly, I spend 24/7 of my time in this field, and I have absolutely no idea what's going to happen 6 months from now. When I look at the crypto space, and I can tell you honestly, when it comes to token sales and the broader crypto space, I have absolutely no idea what's going to happen 1 month from now. And the main reason for this is actually, I always say the crypto space is like dog years. A week in the space is like 7 weeks in the normal world. And this is why it's extremely difficult for all of us to catch up and really keep up on top of the latest developments. Unfortunately, I don't have my slides, so you need to follow up. It'll be more of a TEDx style from what I'm seeing. But a couple of things on this point. So if you look over the last couple of months, the ICO space and the cryptocurrency space has really taken off. There's more than $170 billion in market cap in this space. Now there's more than 1,200 tokens across the broader spectrum. Over the last 2 quarters, there was more money raised via ICOs than via venture capital. And if you look at the slides I don't have right now, there's actually a number of startups, the number of ICOs every month. It's keeping increasing. But the question that always comes up, to what actually is making an ICO success? Is it the use case? Is it the team? Is it the problem they're solving? Pretty much all of them. But really one factor we are seeing right now that is really being a big game changer is actually implementation of best practices in the space. And there's a whole suite of best practices that we are seeing in the market, really from employment agreements. Here we go. Fantastic. Sorry for that. Perfect. Is really the institutional, the best practice we're seeing. There's a whole suite of best practices that we are seeing right now in the industry. But really one of them, by the way, we're having a workshop on this today at 3:50 with a lot of my colleagues if you're interested here. But really the ones I want to focus on are 4 areas. KYC, the legal field, governance, and tax. Let's start with the most basic one, KYC and AML. I can tell you, remember this is dog years. We spoke 6 months ago, very few ICOs were even bothering doing KYC. Today, the landscape has completely changed. All the institutional ICOs that you'll see are having a KYC framework in place. At a minimum, basically to know where the investors are coming from. As you guys know, most of them today are actually blocking the ICOs to actually Chinese investors. Some of them are doing it for US investors. We're having ICOs actually put in place sanctionless monitoring from an AML perspective and put in place risk-based frameworks to ensure that actually the people that are their token holders are actually compliant from that perspective. Another big area has been tax. Some of the ICOs you see that took place 6 months ago had 0 tax consideration before they actually did their token sale. This is a problem if you're an entrepreneur and you are raising $20 million and you have a roadmap of how you're going to spend that money, and you just realize you have to pay tax on it, anywhere from 15 to up to 40% depending on the jurisdiction you're in. It's been a problem for many. And which is really interesting is we've seen really now a lot of these ICOs before doing their token sale, for the benefit often of their token holders, really get tax advice on how it will be structured. Not only on the issuing entity and how those revenues will be recognized and actually over the next coming years, but also from a transfer pricing perspective. A lot of the ICOs, as you may know, have a lot of related entity transactions and how to look at this on a holistic perspective. Or for the entrepreneurs themselves. All these ICOs will generally have a portion given to the founding team. There's a lot of tax oversight on that as well. Another one is obviously, without any doubt, the legal and regulatory field. You all heard about it in the press. There's a lot of actually regulatory enforcement and news around the topic. And really this has been actually a boom for law firms, is really the legal work that is being done right now by all ICOs. Often from a regulatory perspective, whether the token you're issuing is a security or it's not. But also on the various legal documentation that take place. From all the token sale documentation to the intellectual property documentation, even the employment agreements of the staff. And this is one thing we have seen right now, is pretty much a lot of the law firms really start focusing and have teams to really look on this topic. I know a lot of taking pictures. If you're interested in the slides, come and let me know. I'm happy to share them with you. And probably one of the biggest areas now of focus has been governance. For those of you following the news around ICOs, you have seen one of the big ICOs in the US that raised more than $230 million, now worth more than $400 million, is going through serious governance issues right now. In the normal world, if you and I would set up a business, we would look at raising $20, $30, $40 million. For sure we would have a governance framework. And it's actually, this is why we are now seeing in the ICO world as well, people come up with proper governance frameworks. Not only how the proceeds will be used, but also the level of transparency that will be given. To also even more basic stuff, the media policy, who's allowed to speak to the press, or actually the disclosure of conflicts of interest. And we'll talk about that in a second in the panel. And this is really becoming quite an important topic, because even a lot of investors are looking at the space as well. We recently came up with actually a tool for investors on how to look at ICO when you're investing in it, a kind of a framework. But also the question is often, what is the goal? When we work with actually ICO entrepreneurs, often the question is, what are they really looking for? And what you realize, we all hear about in the press, about those scams, and all the guys are trying to make a quick buck out of the situation. But a lot of the entrepreneurs really genuinely want to build an institutional business. They have a vision and they want to change something and they want to be best in class. But really, what I'm afraid about is actually, from all the ICO world, I'm actually worried about bad apples. You all see in the press, there's obviously a lot of folks who are just trying to take advantage of the situation. And the biggest risk, I believe, in the broader cryptocurrency space, and especially the ICO space, is really some of the bad apples and people not taking the basic precautions. And the question is, how do we deal with this? How do we make sure this does not become a big problem? There's many ways of looking at it. Should we set up new regulations? Should we regulate the space? If I talk to you about regulations, this is the reaction most of you will have. Should we have actually proper new policies in place? Like I mentioned before, the space is moving so quickly that it's very, very difficult to come up with actually policy without hindering the growth of the industry. Or should we have the ecosystem come together and try to do some kind of self-governance? I personally believe the last option is probably the way to go, and there's a number of initiatives going on right now around the world, not only in Hong Kong, but also at the global level. But this is one of the big debates I think we have to have. And actually, I'm very happy to say this is what the panel that we're going to have right now will be focusing on about. Thank you very much. I'll be here all week, so for those of you interested, come and see me. We'll be around. Thank you very much.